And here we are, making sure everyone has a blast at your wedding. And the big emphasis is everyone. And I know that may not really be possible to make sure every single person, but we're talking about the majority. So not just focusing on like the couple, not just focusing on the wedding party, as many people as possible, and making it a wonderful, wonderful time for them. And so, guys, I know we all know this, but weddings are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be a time of celebration, a time of people getting together, laughing, enjoying life. But the truth is, and I hate even saying some of this, I mean, some weddings are really boring. Some weddings are, I mean, not necessarily for me, because I'm always trying to have a good time, but I see people bored. I see people sitting around and they're just like looking miserable. Some weddings are only fun for a few people, like I mentioned, like maybe the couple and the wedding party is having a real good time, but everyone else, like the other 75 to 100 some odd guests, are just really bored the whole time. Sometimes it's extremely stressful for other people. So like some people are having fun and then other people are pulling their hair out because they're so stressed. And sometimes weddings are just okay. You know, like, yeah, that was an okay wedding. But we don't want that. We don't want okay weddings. We don't want people bored. We don't want people stressed. We want everyone to have a rocking good time. And that's what we're going to be talking about, is how to have that rocking good time for as many people as possible. Okay? And this is kind of what I said. Yeah, freaking mind-blowing, amazing, wonderful day. And to make that happen, it is a process. You know, you can't just walk in and be like, this is perfect for everyone. So we're going to be talking about things you need to do before the wedding, like throughout the whole planning process. My dog is having a dream and whining. Now she stopped. So there's things you have to do before the wedding, you know, things in the getting ready process that I think, like right before the ceremony, things you can do at the ceremony, and then stuff you can do at the reception. So all of that, you do all of these things, and I think most people will be blown away about how much fun they had at your wedding and how exciting it was. So let's start with kind of the planning process. So this is before the wedding. So this could be, you know, it could be 8 months in advance. It could be a month in advance. But all this stuff needs to kind of happen before the wedding, because you can't do some of it later. So the first thing I would say is, you know, talk to people. Talk to the people that are going to be at the wedding. Talk to your parents. Talk to your grandparents. Talk to the wedding party. Talk to as many guests as possible. You could just put a poll out there on Facebook. It doesn't matter. But get people's opinions. Like, what would make this wedding fun for you? What do you need to enjoy this wedding? You know, and I mean, if you know that there's a particular person that's always uptight, or a group of people that's really uptight, you might really focus on them. You know, if you have that friend that's always happy, then you don't really have to worry about them. But if there's like that person that just stresses over everything, you could talk to them personally and be like, okay, what do I need to do for you to help you relax and have a good time and not be stressed out? So just talking to people, I think, is a really smart thing to do. And the next one is super important. I know we all need help, okay? I'm not saying people can't help you, but when it comes to the actual wedding day, you know, when it gets to the wedding day, or, you know, don't give people jobs. You know, your mother doesn't need to be thinking about what all she has to do instead of enjoying the moment, instead of thinking about how beautiful her daughter is. Okay. Let's see. Your best friend from high school doesn't need to be trying to be your wedding coordinator. Okay, she needs to be catching up with you, having a good time, dancing. So don't give people jobs. Don't put responsibilities on people that are supposed to be there having a good time, because it's going to be hard for them to have a good time if they're doing a job. Okay, let them relax, let them have fun. Don't give them responsibilities. It is also extremely important to have a schedule slash plan before the wedding. Don't just show up at the wedding and think things are going to magically line up and work out. That's not going to happen. And a lot of people get stressed because they don't stay on schedule, or they don't have a good schedule. Like we're 30 minutes behind. Oh crap. How are we going to do anything? Or what are we supposed to be doing now? I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. So if you create that timeline, which we've talked about before, if you have enough time, if you plan everything out perfectly, it makes things a lot easier for everybody. Okay. This next one may not work for everybody. But if you can prepare the day before, so the day of, you're not having to do a bunch of stuff, that is really helpful. And again, I know not all venues give you that day before time. A lot of venues are booked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so you can't prepare on Friday for a Saturday wedding. So in those situations, maybe just get there as early as possible in the morning. But you don't want a bunch of stuff having to be done the day of the wedding, because that causes stress. So, I mean, if you're, I don't know, if you have to create a bunch of decorations, don't do that the day of. Do that like the week before, or do it the day before. Don't give yourself a bunch of stuff to do on the day of. The next one, this could really be, put anywhere, I guess. But I think a big part of having fun is having a fun, energetic wedding photographer, because they're going to be around you the entire day. They're going to be walking around, talking to you, interacting with your friends, interacting with your guests, interacting with your parents. And, the energy they put off affects everyone. So like if they're just like, I don't know, stone-faced, or if they're really stressed out all the time, that's going to affect the people around you. So you want them to make sure that they are putting off the energy and making it a fun, good time for everyone as well. Okay, so this is like the getting ready part of the day. So before the ceremony, you're getting makeup done, you're hanging out, you're doing your hair, the guys are drinking, watching sports, whatever. Make it a fun environment. So the girls do this better than the guys usually, but they'll have like music playing, they'll be dancing around, there'll be drinks, there'll be food, and they'll just be having like their own little mini party. One of the big things with this is make sure there is plenty of time, okay? Especially for the hair and makeup. That I've seen so many times that we're like falling behind because the hair isn't done or the makeup isn't done, and then again it starts adding stress. So in this before time, make sure you have plenty of time to just hang out, do things, knock all the stuff out. Also make sure you have plenty of space. This happens more to the guys than the girls I've seen, but I've seen guys like cram into a bathroom to try and get ready. And they probably don't care that much, but I mean, it can't be the most pleasant experience fitting 5 guys into a bathroom to get dressed. So if there's some way, rent a hotel room, whatever. Go to someone's house where people have enough room to do all that stuff they need to do before the ceremony. I think that would be pretty pleasant. Giving gifts. I mean, who doesn't love getting a gift? So think about like your parents or your wedding party, you're hanging out, you're doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden they whip out a gift and they give you something cool. That just adds to the experience. It adds to the excitement. And, just, it doesn't have to be something gigantic, but just that thought will make people really, really happy and giddy. I know I always get happy when I get gifts. I love gifts. Moving on to the actual ceremony. I think most people are pretty good about this, about being relatively quick on their ceremony these days. Unless it's like a Catholic wedding, most of them are pretty short. But I have done a few weddings that were non-Catholic weddings that just lasted forever. And I mean, oh geez, it was like, there's some that are like an hour long, and it's good and all, but I mean, there's a certain point where people start to lose interest, and they're just sitting there and like, oh, okay, when's this going to end? And I know that's horrible to say stuff like that, but it's just the way life is now. People can't keep their concentration there for a long period of time. So 15 to 30 minutes is usually a good amount of time for a ceremony. Do something interesting and different. So people are like, whoa, what was that? That was cool. Or they're laughing or crying or whatever. So do something to make the ceremony stick out and make it entertaining for them. So, I love it when couples write their own vows. I mean, that's the best way to get people emotional, to get people to laugh, is if they're actually saying something that we haven't heard 5 million times at other ceremonies. I've seen people dance down the aisles, either coming in or leaving, and that always cracks me up. One of my favorite funny moments was an adult flower girl, and she was just hilarious. You could have somebody sing a song at some point. So, there's a ton of different things you can do, but just giving people something they don't expect, some kind of form of entertainment in your ceremony, is going to make it more, fun for them, not just like sitting there like they're in church or something. I also think it's important, we've mentioned this a few times already, space, making people comfortable. So don't cram 120 people into a space that only fits 70. I've had that happen before. I've been in a chapel where people were standing all around the edges of the place. There was just no room. It was extremely uncomfortable. Let me turn off my phone so it doesn't beep anymore. And especially now, where people are afraid to be close to each other, make sure there's plenty of space. Also, the temperature. I remember this one wedding ceremony I did. It had to have been 5 years ago. We were outside. I want to say it was maybe February. And it was freezing. Like my fingers were almost not functioning. It was so cold. And so, if there's a way to control the temperature where people aren't horribly uncomfortable, whether it be, extremely hot or extremely cold, people will appreciate that. Okay, I know I always appreciate that. Okay. Moving on to the reception. And the reception, in my mind, reception is where the most fun should happen. Most of your guests, only are there for ceremony and reception. So if they're going to have a good time, the reception is where that needs to happen. So give them plenty of time. Make the reception 3 to 5 hours long, maybe somewhere in between there, but don't make it like super short. Like a 1 hour reception is not enough time for people to have fun. And I made this mistake 14 years ago when I got married. We had a really short reception. There was not a whole lot going on. And, I guess I had an okay time, but I don't think it was like thrilling for anybody. So plenty of time. Make sure there's alcohol, food, dessert, plenty of variety of things for people to partake in. So if they don't drink, they can have food, they can have dessert. And then even within that, like variety of things. So like if they're vegan, some kind of option for them to eat. Because I know people would be very upset if they show up and they can't eat anything because you don't have any options for them. Give them activities to do. People like to have activities, especially if you're off taking photos. Give people things to do. So like yard games, like I've seen giant Jenga blocks. I've seen like cornhole, lots of different things. But give people something to do. You could have the cocktail hour that gives people time to drink and mosey around and do stuff. I've seen ice cream out there before. You could have a photo booth set up. But just make sure there are plenty of activities for people to do stuff. When people just sit around, that's when they get bored. That's when they want to leave. That's when they're not having fun. Give them stuff to do. I think dancing is always good for a reception. And it doesn't always work out. So make sure there's a space. Make sure you have a good DJ that's going to get people out there, play good music and all that stuff. And one big thing that will definitely get people on the dance floor is if the couple is out on the dance floor. People want to interact with you. When you go out there, they are going to follow and they are going to dance with you. So do that. People will go out there. All right. Another thing is, people don't want to stay there till 10, 11 o'clock at night. So I think a fake exit is a really good option. So it lets people leave early, instead of having to stay forever. But in general, exits are extremely important because again, it's an activity that people get to do together. I mean, how often do you get to play with sparklers and or throw stuff at people? That's just fun. So doing the fake exit, I think, is important, but also making sure it's just something fun for people to do. Now, if you follow all this stuff, people are going to have a great time. You're going to have a great time. Other people are going to have a great time. And the big thing about this is they're going to remember it. They're going to be like, oh, you remember that time we were at their wedding? Oh, it was so awesome. And they're going to talk about it with other people. And so it lives on past just that day. And people will continue to talk about it. And it's just, like I said, that's the way weddings are supposed to be. It's supposed to be a day that stands out from all the other days. And you want your wedding to stand out from all the other weddings. So, follow these tips. Give people stuff to do. Make it relaxing, easy, fun, alcohol, food, all types of different things. And people will have a good time. Let me hop off of here. I can't find the button. All right. So like I said, guys, I've seen a ton of weddings, and that's kind of where I get these ideas from. I mean, sometimes people are having a great time the entire day. Some people only have a good time part of the day. Sometimes it's only a small group of people, but we really want that experience to be throughout the entire day and for as many people as possible. So, I mean, you're paying for it. People are showing up. Might as well make it a wonderful time for everybody. Guys, as always, if you have questions, if you need help with something, if you're trying to figure out how to accomplish something I said and you don't understand it, as always, feel free to reach out to me.